Hello.
Hey, Rudy.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I've got four people waiting already.
I think
Uh,
should we just, I thought Georgie might join.
yeah, Georgie's there, Leanne. Got a few people.
I think we
Okay.
maybe let the speakers in.
Okay. Do you want to use your, I'll turn my,
Sure.
I'll turn my microphone off so it doesn't like,
Hello.
Hello.
So,
Hello. Hi,
are you
everyone.
are you all right?
I am. Kind of. I'm such a nightmare, honestly.
So
Anyway.
good to hear.
but I really appreciate you being on
No,
here.
honestly, don't be silly. It's probably.
Coming on here, I would be
No,
completely understanding. So,
no, honestly, it's fine. It's just that the thing that I'm just flabbergasted about is the latest, which is just this pack of terrible lies, and I'm so shocked. I don't know. I think I'm ridiculously naive that in a driving incident that someone would just make up complete rubbish. Anyway, I'll get it. Hi, Sharon.
Hello. Move to a better spot.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
We're excited for today's session. I hope you are as well.
Running from one meeting to another, so
Oh, is it one of those back-to-back days?
yeah.
can I start letting people in because it's 12?
Yeah, I think that's fun.
Ooh. There's always that strange ghostly silence as people. It is really odd, isn't it? It's like a broken moment on Zoom.
I think it's also because you have to accept for your camera and your microphone. So
I
you're
know.
trying to figure it out. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Someone's Leanne, oh, yeah, I was going to ask maybe if you could just pause for a second. Hi, everyone. Got lots of people coming in, which is great. Rudy, will you, you'll just check our attendees list. So I think we can give everyone just a couple of minutes. Yeah, I think we'll give them another 1 or 2 minutes. How is everyone doing on this lovely Thursday? Good.
Good, thank you.
On this mild grey Wednesday morning.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend in South Africa who's got like 32-degree heat today.
I know.
Saying stop.
I mean, most of my team is based in South Africa, so I get that all the time, and sometimes views of the sea, which is quite torturous.
Yeah, and that bright orange sky that we haven't seen and won't see till June. Karen and Jade, are you sharing one screen there?
Yes, we are.
Nice to meet you guys.
And you?
Rudy, should we get going? Do you want to give it another minute or two? Are we good to go?
Yeah, we should. Yeah, I think we're good to go.
Good to go. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for our first Montalgo Roundtable for 2024. We run these sessions once a month where we invite business leaders to come in and talk around the latest hot topics and trends that are happening in the workplace. My name is Kelsey Helens, and I'm head of customer success for Montalgo. And me and my team are responsible for supporting customers that come in and implement our financial well-being solution for their employees. Today, we're going to be covering empowering women in the workplace, and we're really, really excited to get all your views and insights. So just a little bit about our agenda for today. So we're going to start with a roundtable of intros. We've got 3 fantastic female speakers that are going to tell us a little bit about themselves and why today's topic really resonates with them. We're then going to go to our attendees, and we'd love to hear a little bit about all of you. And you can tell us about the companies that you work for, and then we'll get straight in with our 3 topics for the day. Just a little bit of housekeeping. So we do, although this is virtual, we do see this as a session as if we're all together. So we really want you to collaborate with us, give us some feedback, share your insights. So you'll see there's a raise hand at the bottom of your screen. I'll be keeping a close eye on that. If you've got any feedback or anything that you'd want to share, please just pop that icon. I'll also be looking at our comment section if there's any questions there that you don't want to raise your hand for. If you are able to put your cameras on, it's always fantastic if we're able to see your faces when we're talking. So if possible, cameras on would be amazing. And then just so you know, we are recording the session. It's for internal Montago processes only. We will be sharing notes with you around the session today in the next couple of days, I'd say. So we just use that to keep track of our notes. Rudy, have I missed anything on housekeeping or what we need to do?
No, it's good. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Rudy echo.
Echo. No, all good. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with some
lunch voucher to you after the session, just to let you know. And yeah, no, it's all good. Sorry about the echo there.
No, all good. Perfect. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to start with some speaker intros, and maybe Kamika, can you tell us a little bit about you, the business that you're working for, and why today's topic of empowering women in the workplace really resonates with you?
Let me mute this because I've been having a nightmare technological day. Right, so you all can see me and hear me. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Right, my name is Kamika McLean. I am the group head of HR for Walker Cripps Investment Management. It's a group of company, consists of also Walker Cripps Asset Management, Financial Planning, and Pension and e-board trustees. It is in financial services. We help to save for retirements and people's future, etc. So I think is all interesting. From a professional perspective, I've been in HR for nearly 20 years now, and I have gone through change and transformation projects for tier 1 investment bankers, within financial services. Also work with different companies in SaaS, streamlining project for them, etc. So very versatile in my experience. And I would say, Kelsey, did you say to talk about why I was passionate about because this technology was crazy. I'm going between screen. Should I talk about why this topic resonates with me at this point?
Yeah, if you can just give us a high level of why today's topic resonates with you, that's great. So empowering women in the workplace.
Right. So I believe why I decided to be one of the panelists on today is because I do believe women is the forefront of everything that we do. In society, we are normally the breadwinners, the birth givers, etc. And we can build empires. And I do believe, as a person of color and as a woman, there have been challenges that I had to face, not from a work perspective entirely, but from a perspective of being a mother, a wife, a daughter, etc. And there's just so much conflict in what is right. There is so many pressure being a woman and having a career at the same time as well. So sometimes you feel you have to choose, do I choose my children or do I choose my career? But why do we have to choose? Why can't we have it all? So I think it really resonates to me because I believe as women, we should empower ourselves to say we can have it all, we are capable, and we you know, nothing is impossible. The word itself says that I am possible, we are possible to overcome those barriers, those stereotypes. If you look at history and where we stand and how we've overcome those barriers, you know, from voting, etc., we've come a long way. And I just believe that if we empower each other, mentor each other, and show and live from our life experience and share our experiences and share statistical information of how beneficial hiring women talents are, I do believe it really does come a long way as well. And also a big factor for me, making sure whatever organization you work with, they have enhancement benefit packages for individuals, you know, that have family, etc., so that they can work to the best of their abilities. It's about the support and the fundamentals that encompass empowering that woman in the workplace.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fantastic. And it was interesting when you say, you know, us all getting together and being able to share the experiences. I'm looking at all the women on the cameras and everyone's kind of agreeing. It's like, how do we have more conversations around, you know, empowering women that we work with, empowering ourselves, owning those relationships and our experiences and really sharing guidance. So I think that's fantastic, Kamika. Thank you so much. I'm going to hand over to Georgie, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and how today resonates with you.
Hi everyone, lovely to be here. Thank you very much. So I'm Georgie. I lead a company called Peopleful, and essentially we have a portfolio of diagnostics that measure the impact that the workplace has on the well-being of people that work there. So they kind of bring objective data to the story. And when we're talking about topics like this, I think objective data can play a really powerful role. There's a lot of very kind of sentiment-led data out there. And we also understand, is the organizational setup enabling people to bring their best selves to work? And I think it's really important. I think even when we think about this topic of women in the workplace, it's hugely important to think of the workplace as a very complex system. And there's lots and lots of different moving parts. And I think kind of understanding that as a whole is such an important piece of this. So, and why I'm passionate about this, there's a few different reasons. I mean, I'm definitely an older woman in the workplace, and jolly happy to say that. But I was really shocked a few years ago when some women that I know well in really senior positions were in the process of editing themselves out of those senior roles, like really brilliant women who'd performed so well. And it was being largely driven by this lack of confidence and by the pernicious effects of the menopause. And, that led me, I also co-founded a charity, which sadly closed quite recently, but we did a lot of work around the menopause, I'd say back in the early days when it was really stigmatized. And I'd say that although we're making progress, it's still quite slow. I still think there's some stigma out there about it. And my other overall thing is just the speed of change. I'm sure lots of people on this call looked at the McKinsey report on women in the workplace, where they describe, and I wrote this down somewhere in all my notes, I always scribble, that actually companies are modestly increasing women's representation at the top. And like all of these big issues, there are so many reports out there. If you take burnout, that's another example. And these reports are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but the change is just so slow to follow. So for me, being in any forum where we can talk about topics like this and get really practical and hear about what people are seeing and what they're doing that's actually making a difference is just incredibly powerful. So a real privilege to be here.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Georgie. And I think we'll definitely get into the insights around the great breakup McKinsey a little bit later in our first topic. So that's awesome. Sharon, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're passionate around our overall topic of empowering women today?
Yeah, hi everybody. Happy Thursday. I'm Sharon Frost. I'm Global HR Director and I have held international roles for just over 12 years now. I've worked at Oxford Pharmagenesis, my current organisation, for the last 4.5 years, and they're an award-winning and independent global health science consultancy. So they provide medical communications in the healthcare sector. I've pretty much always worked in female-dominated sectors, so I have quite a sector-agnostic background, and it's not necessarily been a purposeful choice, but I appear to have always worked in very female-dominated sectors. So my current organisation is a 76-24% split in favour of women. So retaining midlife women is key to my people strategy in my current organisation. But it's clearly been something that I've found quite attractive in terms of the way that I think and provide support services from an HR point of view as well. And the thing I love the most about being in HR and you know, the challenges around women in particular is the fact that the challenges evolve over time as well. You know, there are similar issues, but we, you know, are able to unearth topics that would have previously been taboo, for example. So there is definitely an evolution. I agree with Georgie. It's always a slower pace than we might like, but I think, you know, we are moving in the right direction, and that gives me hope, and it certainly feeds into my passion about making a positive difference. And I feel that I'm able to do that both from an HR perspective and as a female leader myself as well. So very excited to be here today and to hear what other people have to say, and hopefully a little bit of interaction towards the end too.
Yeah, and I think, Sharon, when we get into it, I think really looking at how we prevent midlife women and women in general from leaving the workplace is going to be a really crucial topic for us to discuss. So really excited for that bit as well. So we'd like to meet the rest of you now as our attendees. Thank you again so much for joining us. We're going to do a little bit of a round table. So what I'm going to do is just ask someone, and I'm going to start with Sarah Moulton. If you, I was going to give it a second there. Can you tell us a little bit about you and the company you work for? And then if you can just choose someone at random, we'll all get to know each other. So if you can call someone after you've done your introduction, and we can get a feel for the room.
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Sarah Moulton. So I'm head of people with Argyle. So we are a business that do sort of very premium end serviced offices all within zone 1 of central London. We're all here as a team actually on today because it's something that we're really keen to focus on moving forward. Is diversity, equity and inclusion is our theme for 2024. So obviously this sits very firmly in it, I believe. So you'll meet some of my colleagues shortly. I don't know if you asked for this, but I'll say anyway. The reason that I particularly am on today is I am also a midlife woman in the workplace, and I'm quite open to say that in menopause and have had all the delights of that over the last 2 years at various times, and I've got 3 children. And I think it's really important for me that we do change for them. I say 3 children because I have 2 daughters and a son, and I think for me it's equally important across all 3 of them. And the reason I say that is that in order to empower, I think, women to stay in the workplace, and particularly midlife as well, women to stay in the workplace, is that we've also got to make it much less of stigmatism about men taking their parental role in looking after children, which for me I think is still a big issue. I think a man would find more difficulty in going to their boss and saying, I need to stay home because my child's sick today and my wife is going into work. I think there is still quite a stigmatism around that. And I want my son to be very clear when he grows up and has children that parenting is a joint job. And the way it operates in our house is it's meeting top trumps. Whoever's got the most important meeting gets to work. Whoever doesn't has to stay home. So yeah, that's why I'm here today. I'm going to go to Leanne Baker.
Hi, nice to meet you all. I'm Leanne Baker. I'm head of people for a management consultancy called Enfuse Group. I have just had my 3rd baby. I've just returned from maternity leave, but I am in my 40s, so this is a topic that's very important to me. one of the things that happened recently is one of my neighbours who's going through menopause was considering taking a £30,000 a year pay cut so that she could have a job, but she could do a bit more flexibly and from home. That really shocked me, that she was having to consider that. So this is something that I'm really trying to think about how I can embed in my company. I've created lots of really inclusive policies that hopefully will start to do that, but I also want to open a conversation as well. And I agree with what Sarah was saying. I've got 2 sons and just had a daughter, and I really want to kind of empower their knowledge on all of these things from a young age so that they realise the importance of their role for the future. Over to Catherine Parker.
Thanks, Leanne. Hi, I'm Catherine Parker. I am the global lead for talent acquisition operations for a company called PHC Group. I've been in talent acquisition for 30 years, so a long time. I decided to attend predominantly because I see a lot of marginalization of women of a particular age in the hiring process, but also internally, when we're kind of seeking our next opportunity, there isn't a lot of it, and so education for me, kind of bringing it back to my team and talking it through is really it's going to be significant for them. So that's why I wanted to join. So thanks. I'm going to pick Alexandra Menzel.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. My name is Alexandra Menzel. I am DEI manager at a strategy consultancy called Roland Berger. I'm here today also with my colleague Claire, who I will pick afterwards. So Claire, get ready. I'm here today because as a DEI manager, really managing careers is of importance to us. Consultancies are notorious for being a male-dominated area. This is something we want to change. We also want to change the age distribution that we have within our company, and we want to keep and really develop a thriving environment for our senior leaders, our female senior leaders. So this is why I'm really looking forward to all the content we're discussing today. And I'm handing over to Claire.
Thank you, Alexandra, and thank you to everyone else for sharing their reasons. So I'm the head of HR for Roland Berger in the UK. We've done an awful lot in the last 3 years to increase the number of female candidates coming through our recruitment. So we've done a lot in terms of attracting those women into the business. So we're definitely doing better in terms of getting that split in terms of our gender profile. What I'm very aware of is in terms of that next step is how we retain those women through their careers. Management consulting is not necessarily conducive to having small children around, and so how we manage that in the right way and how we ensure that we've got the right opportunities for women as they enter into midlife, echoing that element that it's still predominantly the women that are responsible for the childcare. Although we have had a number of our male colleagues take our paternity offering, which is significantly enhanced as well, which is definitely creating a better environment for us. But yeah, it's about how we enable women through their careers with us. I will jump to Olivia Anderson.
Hi everyone, so I'm Olivia, so you can call me Liv. I work for Reds 10. I'm the HR advisor, and we are in a company of around 400 people, but it's mainly male dominated. So we have maybe 11-12% females. So it's construction, which, as you can imagine, is in the market right now. Everyone's struggling to get more females to come into the workplace. So we thought it would be good. Me and my manager Laura are on here. So yeah. Passing over to Laura Nicholson.
Thanks, Liv. Hi, I'm Laura. I'm head of HR at Reds 10, so we're a modular construction business. As Liv mentioned, we've got about 400 people that work for us, and only 12% of our workforce is women. So understanding how we can attract more women to the industry is really important, but also retaining them. I know that's been mentioned already, but that's really high on our agenda. And also understanding we've got quite a young workforce, so understanding how we can support them as they enter midlife, which is why we're on the call today. I'll hand over to Shivi.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you. I'm actually from payroll side of things, and I suppose I'm just here to see why I have so much turnover with females in payroll that just come and go, come and go, come and go. And also I'm a female, so I would like to see the challenges and how we can help this later on down the line, and what challenges I may have to face later on as well. And see the changes throughout the years. Like, I'm starting my career now, by the end of my career, see what changes have happened. So this is what I'm here for. I need to pick someone. Karen and Jane?
Hi, I'm Jane Isaacs. I'm head of HR at Royal Grammar School in Guildford. Royal Grammar School is a boys' school. We have about 1,500 boys in the school, and a very male-dominated teaching body and a significantly male-dominated senior management team. So myself and Karen are here today. One of our school priorities is diversity, equity and inclusion. And it's really just to see, and we're thinking about how to attract more women to teach at the school, and make sure that we're representing sort of women working in the school to our pupils as well. Don't know if you want to add anything.
No, I can't think of anything else to add.
And we will pick, can't see the names.
If you scroll over them, you'll be able to see, I think,
Lisa Hand.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. So I'm Lisa. I'm the People Experience Director at Oggy. So we are based in South Wales, and we are building a full fibre network across the region. So typically male-dominated industry is telecommunications, similar to what's been said before. We are sitting about 27% women in the organisation, and myself and one other are part of the exec team. So we do have female representation at the top, which is a positive. I'm also a mum of 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. So it's passionate for me to be passionate about this as well from a personal perspective. And like what's been said, I think there are a lot of changes that need to happen in society in terms of making it an equal playing field for us. But as part of that, I do think that businesses have a real role to play in helping drive that forward. So I need to pick someone. Hilary, have you been? Yeah.
I haven't, but I'm also just thinking, oh my goodness, who am I going to choose? I haven't ticked everybody. Hi, I'm Hilary, and I run my own consultancy business. I provide fractional CFO and COO support to SMEs. And in that remit, I have quite a lot of involvement in writing staff policies, and a big spotlight on diversity and inclusion policies for my staff. And also, very similar to Shivi, I've got a couple of clients who are facing high turnover of staff at midlife female level. So very interested from that perspective. From a personal perspective, I set up my practice quite some more years ago than I'd care to share. At the birth of my second daughter, because going back to work and caring for 2 children back then was really, really difficult to do. And by luck and sheer hard work, my things worked out very well for me. But now that my own daughter is growing older, I don't want her to have to make compromises in the way of working as she goes into the workplace. So I'm very, from that perspective, very passionate that things continue to change for the better, so that females are more represented in the workplace. And I will pass on, I hope, to somebody who hasn't been yet, Emily and Gareth.
I can call out the names, but maybe it'll be easier just for people calling out if you can just raise your hand. So I've got about 12 people that have spoken, but when we're passing on, just so everyone's not, make sure that everyone gets a chance.
Hi guys, I'm Emily, my
Gareth.
colleague Gareth. We are part of Sarah's team, and we also have Anna on here as well. From a personal perspective, obviously we are within the property industry in Argyll currently. And my last role was also within the property industry, but very, very different. It was really male dominated, quite sort of old school, and kind of women in midlife and menopause was not mentioned at all, even though I was within kind of a predominantly female HR team. Coming here has kind of really opened my eyes, and it's an issue that I think we really need to tackle because it needs to be spoken about more. And I think I'm here to kind of learn from everyone else about what they've kind of put in place to help, really.
And I've been with the company for 15 years, and we're quite female. I think the proportion from female to male is quite higher in the female sense, but up to a certain point. So when you get to director level, it's not as high as it could be. And from having transitioned from the operations team into the people team, it's really interesting to see how we can turn that around and make females really high up within the company.
We're gonna pick or who hasn't been, sorry guys.
Sarah or Jason?
Oh, Jason.
Hi, I'm Jacinth. No, don't worry, I'm used to my name being pronounced differently. Hi. I am a consultant and expert on ageism and age inclusivity. I was awarded Anti-Ageist Activist of the Year last year, and I'm the founder and CEO of Ageism is Never in Style, which is an award-winning global campaign consultancy and community. We consult on strategy, from DE&I and culture to creative direction. And we also do brand amplification with our community. We have a community of over 165,000 people online, with 96% of that being women over the age of 45. So obviously this is a topic that's particularly of interest to us and our community. And we particularly focus on gendered ageism, which is the intersectionality between aging and sexism. So the workplace and women in the workplace is something we're very passionate about, and actually also talking about the whole experience of women in the workplace, because we would argue women are rarely, if ever, the right age. They are always being judged on their age. Who is next? I think
James raised his hand. Sarah's also raised her hand.
Sarah, let's go over to you.
Got in there. Thank you. Yeah, very quickly, I'm Sarah. I'm People and Talent Advisor at Cornwall Insights. We're an energy consultancy and subscription business. So really our main aims are to try and get a bit more of a equal gender split across the organisation at a senior level. So not only that, it's about supporting those team members who are perhaps already in that midlife point, but also thinking of succession planning. A lot of our team members are actually, this might be their first job straight out of university, but it's thinking about their future planning and putting policies and benefits in place that would support them for their future growth as well and career. So yeah, that's really why I'm here today. James, I'll choose you next, as you had your hand up at the same time as me.
Just I know we've got quite a lot of people, and so it's been really valuable to get this insight, and I think just from this there's some great trends. So James, I definitely want you to introduce yourself, and then we're gonna put a pause there on the intros. Apologies for anyone that we haven't gotten to. If we run over, hopefully some of you can stay on a little bit longer, otherwise we will be sharing the notes from this. But I think it's incredibly important for us all to have, or at least as much of us as possible, have that opportunity to really talk around while we're here. So James, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone. So James, head of HR for a tech consultancy. For a tech business, we've got a third of the business represented by those that identify as female. And of that proportion, a lot are within the age or around the age that might be considered midlife. And as part of that, just trying to understand better, I guess, from an allyship and HR perspective as a male individual, what people go through, because it's obviously something that I do not myself.
Thanks, James. And apologies, Anna, Shamina, there's a couple of you guys that we're not getting to. I'm just cautious of time. I think what's been fantastic is, though, just looking at the trends. So parental roles, retaining and attracting women so they stay with our businesses, supporting women in midlife. I listened to an interesting podcast by Stephen Bartlett around menopause, and he was saying, a third of women in the world right now are going through this. So how do we really support women in this phase of their lives, so with kids kind of going through it, and then obviously diversity and inclusion. So I'm going to go to Georgie. Can we talk a little bit, and you alluded to it in your intro, just around the great breakup from McKinsey and kind of what that world is looking like right now?
Yes. I mean, I feel a bit guilty if I just am going to paraphrase McKinsey. So I mean, there's just a couple of things that that I wanted to touch upon, and one of them hasn't really been mentioned so far, and I guess I'm kind of personally going through it as well, which is I came across quite an interesting stat. In fact, it's a good article, and I'll share it round with you, Kelsey, to maybe share with the broader community. But it was quite interesting. It's the Office of National Statistics, and it talks about the fact that women are twice as likely to leave their job to care for family members. And I mean, I haven't heard the phrase kind of sandwich generation for ages, but this whole notion of having elderly parents and having to support them, and how that tends to fall to the woman in the family to do that is quite an interesting one. So that was touched on in the McKinsey report, and I thought it was worth putting on the table for discussion here. So if you are caring for elderly, how can the workplace better support you whilst you're doing that? And the other things really that again, we've talked about menopause and this whole notion of kind of self-efficacy and confidence, which I think is a really big one. But again, one of the things that I wanted to really say about all of this is that if we want to make a meaningful difference, I think trying to understand what is going on within the organizations we work with is so important. I think you can kind of plunge in and start thinking about, okay, what's going on with women, and almost that there's almost a kind of confirmation bias in that. It's almost like, can we go a step back and understand how both men and women are experiencing the workplace? And if we can get some kind of proper insight around that, we can start peeling back the layers and understanding what's going on our very own doorsteps. Because as I said earlier, there's all these reports out there, but change is still happening so slowly. And in some of the work we've done, some really interesting things have emerged. I mean, there was a hospitality client that we worked with, and women were having a very, very different experience of the workplace than men, generally, across age groups. But it hadn't become toxic yet. So there's something about, even when you do go in and you do unearth these disparities in how people are experiencing the workshop, I think you have to be quite careful how you label that and how you relay that back to an organization. And in this particular case, it was, it was kind of quite soon after the pandemic, and a lot of men were taking on all of the work, and they were at quite high risk of burnout, and women were burning out with boredom. So it was really interesting trying to kind of understand that and unpick that, and then go in and have conversations and understand how you can better support women. So I think there's lots of different things that contribute to the great breakup. A lot of them have been touched on in this conversation. But if we want to make a difference, I think it has to be about going in and trying to understand what's going on around us in the workplace, and then going in and having meaningful conversations with the women who are involved in that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic call out. And do you have any suggestions of, sorry, and Sarah, I'll jump to you now. If someone wants to really dig in and look at their business, what are the key steps they should be doing to really understand their world?
Well, I want to be delicate in how I answer that, because obviously of what people will do. But I do think if you're going to understand it, it is looking at the organization as a whole. And it's to me, it's all about the data that you collect. And there are various ways of doing that. We are one of them. But to me, if you want, there's a great phrase that I heard. I always say it. So and the terrible thing is I can't remember who said it, but it was, if you want, it's collect the dots if you want to connect the dots. And so again, it's that idea of trying to understand more about what's going on, maybe thinking beyond just, traditional survey tools, if you want to try and get to the heart of what's going on across the system when it comes to the organization.
Thanks. Sarah?
I was just going to build on George's point, really, that I think the caring of older parents is also sorry, I've just been delivered tea, is also something, and I think we're going to see a real shift over the coming decade, because actually I think the stats around women having children older now, whereas their parents didn't have children at the same age. I know I've definitely experienced it over the last 5 years. My dad had dementia and passed away sadly 2 years ago. But I've also had my 2 youngest children later in life. So actually, I was in that squeeze where actually I was a carer to young children, but also a carer to a parent. I think historically it's been, as women have moved through midlife, where traditionally women have had children at a younger age, it's been one or the other. But I think we're going to start to see a shift in that, certainly over the next decade or two, where we'll find women are actually dealing with both of those things at the same time, which puts that increasing pressure on.
Yeah, Georgie, I don't know if you want to respond to that, if you've got any feedback.
What, in terms of?
Oh, of Sarah's comment, sorry, I was just checking.
No, I mean, nothing apart from I completely agree. I think it's becoming a bigger and bigger issue, and it's about organizations trying to get ahead of these things rather than when the crisis is landing on the doorstep, and thinking through what can be put in place to support, again, not just women, to support everyone and make it okay for it to be men and women, if time is needed to go and support elderly relatives.
Yeah, and I think that is why quite a few women leave the business. And Sharon, I know you've got some views around, preventing your female talent from leaving the organization. Maybe we can touch on that.
Yeah, so I mean, as I said before, I've always worked in female-dominated businesses, and interestingly, I did some stats in the 4 years I've been at Oxford Pharmagenesis, and our biggest leaver age is actually our 30-year-olds. Our lowest is our 50 and 60-year-old brackets. So in the 4 years I've been here, we've really made an effort to look at flexibility, and actually, to Georgie's point, for men and women as well. Really trying to normalize that, there are 2 parents to every child that is born on this planet, and therefore making sure that both parents are able to equally take that responsibility and make those requests in the workplace. We have also looked at increasing things like maternity benefit and encouraging returners, and really discussing how flexible we can be on those returns as well. I mentioned when I introduced myself that we have a 76% profile female to male ratio, and we make sure that we measure things like our promotions to make sure that that's aligning as well. It wouldn't make sense that 25% of women are promoted if there's a 76% ratio. So it makes sense that some of these metrics are logically aligned to our people profile. We don't have the gender pay gap that we would like right now, so we have a very kind of open door policy, and we engage with people in small focus groups, and what comes out of that is lots of great insight around very practical, usually quite small changes that people would benefit from. And that that in itself, little is still moving in the right direction. More recently, we've really showcased the senior leaders that are women in our organisation, and encouraging them to operate overtly as role models. And we're about to kick off the #I'mRemarkable campaign. I think women are really bad at saying I'm great at something, and so we want to really encourage people to reflect on what they are, what makes them remarkable, and share that in our organisation. It started as a Google initiative, and it has now rolled out to all colleagues, but we're certainly starting it from the senior women's group to encourage women to do that, because again, it's not something that comes as naturally to shout about your successes. And I think that's just a few sort of headlines of some of the things that we've done that are quite practical for anyone probably on this call to pick up and move forward with. The sum of those parts and much other work that we have done have resulted in us being year on year awarded Great Place to Work, but Great Place to Work for well-being, both of those in ranked positions, and the Women's Award isn't yet ranked, but we've had Great Place to Work for women also for the last 3 consecutive years. And this year we also, or this year as in 2023, we also became accredited as a menopause-friendly employer. And that was a really great exercise because it's actually quite a lot of work. But it makes sure that what you're doing is robust. What it also did is it fleshed out that whole kind of culture about talking openly and in a safe space around taboo subjects. And as a result of doing the menopause, we actually have now implemented a fertility treatment policy, for example, because people started coming forward and talking to us about other topics as well. And I think one of the things that I'm most proud of is that people clearly do feel quite safe in our organisation to ask. And, you know, one of the things that I would certainly advise people is that when you operate with a sort of listening to hear mentality as an organisation, it doesn't mean that you have to say yes to everything. But the last time I looked, we employ adults. And so I think it's really important to remember to treat the people that we employ as adults. And that means replying if you can't do something with why you can't, or if it's a not now, which is probably most likely, just to dig a bit deeper to understand why people are asking in the first place, what the benefit will be, because something that's either a no or a not now might turn into a not now or a something. And as I said, you know, think big, but start small. And those little steps in the right direction are certainly leading you into a more positive place. And quite often when you do dig deeper, it's a very practical reason. It's, you know, it's not often an individual thing. It can be rolled out to a number of colleagues, and they're usually quite worthwhile little golden nuggets that you get from those conversations. But it does start a bit of a culture movement around breaking taboos and opening those conversations that might otherwise stay underground. And I think they're the things that give people the comfort that when they've got something that they're really struggling with, they'll talk to you rather than hand in their notice. And I think that's what's made the biggest difference for us.
That's amazing. I definitely want to lean in on a comment that Leanne's made. But before I do, can you talk around if a company's in their early stages, and, you know, quite a few women on the call have spoken around, you know, be creating more consciousness around menopause. You've mentioned your fertility program. How did you guys implement that? What did that look like in your world?
So the menopause one was really, so we have menopause advocates, those people that are kind of passionate. One of the things that we've done with our whole kind of EDI strategy really is making sure that it's either people that that feel that they're reflective of a particular area of EDI, or actually they're passionate and they're advocates. So our menopause advocates is a really interesting group because we have some very young people that are concerned about what their parents might be going, or their mother might be going through, for example, and want to understand it. We also have a male advocate because he wants to be able to support his sister. And so we have the fact that we have the diversity amongst the advocates means that we can reach almost everyone in our organisation as well. And I think that for me was the biggest nut to crack, that we're not just honing in on talking to our, you know, fast approaching 50-year-old women. We actually want to talk to everybody, you know, because the line manager needs to be able to support the colleague, and the line manager may be younger, a lot older, you know, a different gender, etc. And so we really wanted to make sure that it was everybody's business, menopause. I mean, we made a mistake. We put a notice on the back of our female toilets to say that we had ice packs in case of emergency. you know, and someone unexpectedly has a period, we have sanitary products available, but we put them on the back of the female toilets. And we realized actually we needed to put them back on the back of all the toilets, because, you know, how someone presents themselves may not be actually biologically what they're experiencing. So, you know, and that was a learning curve for us. So, you know, but apologize when you make a mistake and move forward from it. And actually that opened a whole different conversation about colleagues that may not be presenting themselves in, you know, with the gender that they may biologically be or were born with. So, you know, we've really opened up some quite large taboo subjects through our menopause campaign, actually.
That's fantastic. I mean, I think making it a conversation for everyone really resonates. I mean, it's like we all have to be part of that. And we have to look at various initiatives to start those conversations that may feel uncomfortable, but can move us forward. And I guess, Leanne, that goes into you guys advocating for your directors, you know, being parent loudly. And maybe you can lean into one of the benefits or some of the benefits and how you guys have done it.
Yeah, so the company was founded by one of our directors, a male director, and the reason why he did was because he just recently had twins that were his second and third child, and his flexible working request was turned down. And he thought, I want to create a company that I have flexibility to be the parent that I want to be, but that also allows other people to work a good lifestyle that suits their family life. So the company started on a very good footing, which is great. All of the directors of the company that are currently all male, they all have children. And what I have enjoyed since I've been there is that they all parent loudly. You know, they say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't make that. I'm on the school pickup. Sometimes they call from the school pickup. Sometimes they're looking after their poorly children that are sitting on their laps for meetings. And I think, you know, it's important for all parents to do that, but especially for male parents to do that as well, because it gives me permission as a mum to balance my own work-life balance with the kids and the school pickups and not feel guilty. I think it's the first job I've ever worked in that I don't feel guilty and feel like I have to hide the fact that I'm a mother. So I think that's really helped, and we've just created a lot of policies around that. When new parents join the company, we talk about parenting loudly, and that it's not something that you should ever be ashamed of. You know, kids are one of the most important parts of our lives, so we shouldn't be pretending that they don't exist.
Because that's what we decided to do, and then Rebecca does not.
Oh, sorry, so I wasn't sure.
Well, I've got lots of other things to talk about, but I thought I'll end there in case anyone has any questions.
No, sorry, yeah, there was a bit of background noise. I wasn't sure.
I'm sorry, it's our first day in our brand new office. So it's like, it's busy and a bit crazy today. But one of the good things about being in this office is that the directors have said, we're not going to tell you have to be here. If you want to work from home, that's totally fine, which is good for me because normally I do work from home.
Justin, I see you've got your hand up. Just before we go there, does anyone have any questions for Leanne around proud parenting or what they've been implementing in their business? No? All right. So, Jason, do you want to go?
Hi, yes, hi. Yeah, I just wanted to add as well, I mean, the really poignant point about you know, bringing all people, all ages, all genders into the conversation. You know, I'm 31 and I've been asked at times, you know, why do you care about aging? Why do you care about ageism? Your age, aren't you too young? And my original inspiration was my mum. Somebody who I witnessed, she actually did have me a bit older. So I witnessed quite early on, you know, her going through menopause when I was in my teens, and I became quite conscious of the struggles that she was going through. And interestingly, one of the things that we're particularly passionate about is bringing all ages into the conversation. In our community, we did a survey recently, and actually 70% of our community said that they started engaging with the issues around aging, menopause and whatnot from 40 plus, but 92% said that they wish they had engaged with it when they were younger, and the difference it would have made for them. So I think that just says a lot about how important it is to really be advocating and bringing all ages and say all, you know, very much all genders into the conversation around these topics, because both from them being allies to the issues that women are going through, but also for their own experiences, their own futures. It really will make a big difference.
Yeah, no, I think that's, and there's definitely a trend today of that we've been talking around of how do we normalize the conversations we're having and bring people into that fold so we can make conversations around being a mom or not being able to give 500,000% all day because I've got 50 other things I have to do as a parent as well. And then if you're not a parent, but you're still a woman going through various ages, what are the implications? What are the things you're going through? In a male dominated organization, those conversations are uncomfortable. And so, you know, let's not go there. And so we really have to drive that going forward. For sure. Does anyone have any other feedback on the kind of where we're at, where kind of women are at? I do want to ask Kamika, I know you've got some really interesting insight around how we retain women. And you definitely, when we had a conversation a couple of days ago around that parental role and those expectations, if there's anything you want to lean in on.
Definitely, absolutely. Thank you, Kelsey, and thank you for all contributing. What I'd like to say, as much as there is some positive going on from the end of Sharon, Leon, I think it was, what you've implemented, I must say, that is good, and the organization that you represent. But I look at the different side of the coin where, you know, there is so much more needs to be done and not everyone is at the level and pace that you are at. And this is why it came up to, why is it important to retain female talent? It is an issue, isn't it, really? Because when you opened the conversation earlier, Kelsey, and when I think it was Georgie spoke, she spoke about women in their midlife leaving their careers, probably because of menopause or whatever the case may be. But we, as women, unfortunately, because of society, more pressure are on us. We fulfill multiple roles. Yes, men do fulfill multiple roles as well. They're fathers, but women are normally viewed as the caregiver. Men are viewed as the breadwinner of the family, you know. So it leads me to the point that you have to change your mindset if you were to retain women talent, right? Because some organization is so stuck in the past, they think that men are strong leaders and women belong at home. So we do need to look at the Equalities Act and what it covers, right? And it talks about the right to family life, your sexual orientation, your gender, etc. Those exist for a reason. It means that there is disparities, right? So I would start, for those who does not have those fundamental principles that Sharon Lynn has outlined, is, you know, look at your organizational structure, look what you want to achieve from a woman's perspective. Look at your workforce. MI does not lie, right? Look at your senior leadership team to see what sex or the identification of sex is represented within your organization. And once you get a picture, I can give you financial planning, for example. Within financial planning, there's only 16% of women in the industry that are at senior management levels. And if we were to go to directors level, CEOs, etc., those are in single figures, right? So I would say always have a strategy in place and how to, what you want to do to retain female. And I would say the best thing to look at is probably your benefit, flexible working, creating and embedding learning and developmental program to exhilarate women in the industry, you know, to get their qualifications, you know, be a bit more flexible in your offering if you truly want to retain women. There is so many stats out there, and one that I really like is it says that if you hire more women, there was a research by Deloitte, revenue actually increase. It can increase up to 2.5%, and it makes the workforce more innovative. But before we go and hire our women of this society and retain them, we have to have a journey, you know, within the organization. How do you map out the career? Give them that opportunity that they can be bigger, better, and become senior leaders. Have a senior leadership program dedicated to women in the industry. You know, how do you accelerate to directors, VP, etc. What skills and experience do you need? How long it takes to get there? And just implementing family-friendly policies within your organization. I know we run out of time, and I have so much more to say. But you know, we just have to look at the bigger picture, and look at legalities. Look at reports from the ONS as well, because there's a lot there when it comes to mental illness in women, and they talk about burnout, because women are basically doing multiple roles, but it's not always about doing multiple roles, but probably that can be due to not getting enough opportunity within a workplace, having to do more to prove yourself and to prove your worth to be promoted. So I would, as a final thought, I would say, look at the fundamentals within your organization, look at the classification between males and females within senior position. If your number is 70% women, 30% female, men, sorry, and 30% female, then you know you have a problem there. And if you're over 250 employee, you know, there is legal reporting that is required when it comes to equal pay as well, which is another good topic. I hope that answers your question, Kelsey.
I think there was some great insights, and definitely on the stats front. I've got a question, I guess, that I would want to go to Georgie around burnout, and especially women in mid-careers, and kind of what that looks like. But before we go there, does anyone have any questions around what Kamika was saying, around looking at when you're setting up, looking at the percentage of women that you have in the business, maybe strategically how we look at bringing more women into leadership roles? Any thoughts there?
I mean, the only thing I was going to add just to that point about bringing women into leadership roles, and it is in the McKinsey report, so I do feel a bit of a charlatan just throwing this point in there, but you know, it is still that piece, and we haven't really touched on it though, about the longer term play and where in the journey you start kind of course correcting. And so I was, you know, and I know again these phrases, these buzzwords get thrown out, but you know, so the whole notion of the broken rung, and I think McKinsey calls it that critical point when women, you know, when it's the first kind of promotion into a managerial, into a manager position. And again, there's huge inequality that exists at that point. So again, it's where in the journey you start staging interventions. And I think there's a kind of long-term play to all of this. And there's kind of right here, right now, what's going on under our noses. So that idea of line managers or managers and that critical promotion point, and kind of educating, I guess, line managers who are responsible for those promotions happening, so that that's done in a kind of fair and equitable way, I think is something else that's really important to think about.
Anna, do you have any thoughts on kind of what we're talking around, and how Georgie's chatting around the McKinsey report, and just the trends of women in the workplace? I know we didn't have an opportunity to introduce you, so maybe we can give you a second to say hello and tell us your thoughts on the discussion.
Actually with Sarah, Emily and Gareth, so you've heard about my organizational background before twice. So it's a property business, and diversity, equality, and inclusion are at the forefront of our strategy currently, but also I literally just last week returned from maternity leave. So women's place in the workplace is very close to my heart, especially now, and it's great to hear from all of you on your experience. And I think it's a very important role for people professionals to sort of drive that change and level the play field for women in the workplace, and looking at our policies and how we can really make that change and drive it forward is ever so important, and enabling male colleagues to take on more active role in parenting equation to really support female colleagues for that way is I think ever so important.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think that's definitely a trend we've spoken through today, is onboarding the male conversation into how women are experiencing the workplace. So I think it's great. I'm going to just ask a couple of attendees that maybe haven't spoken. Lisa, do you have any comments on the conversations that we've had? Any particular topics that have resonated with you?
I was just going to talk about, we've been focusing on sort of role models over the past sort of 6 months of last year. So we implemented a women in leadership mentoring program, and we had about 5 actually from our exec team and senior management team sort of joined forces and are mentoring a group of individuals across the organization. So young females wanting to progress, and it's been really, really well received. Not only just from the mentees, but I'd also say from the mentors, because on some of our training sessions, a couple of the groups sort of said, it's amazing for us as senior women to come together and share our experiences and learn from one another, because we were saying actually we don't do that very often, even though we're working at the same level. Just having that safe space, I guess, for senior women to come together and share any concerns. And like I said, learn from one another was really, really positive, and has sort of really cemented relationships between us at the sort of senior level, as well as enabling us to share our experiences and help and coach sort of younger women that are coming through the workplace as well. So I'd say that's been a real success story for us at Oggy sort of over the past 6 to 9 months.
And how did you create that? Was that a forum where people just kind of opted in to be part of it?
Yeah, so we went out to the organisation. So we have an internal L&D specialist. So she developed the programme itself. And it was sort of 2 parts to it. It was training for the mentors, so that we understood what our role was and how what skills we needed to apply that. And then we asked volunteers who wanted to be mentors, and then likewise opened it up to the organisation for people to apply. And what happened afterwards, though, because that was such a success, we've actually rolled out a wider mentoring program. So yes, there is a specific one for women in the workplace, but it sort of led us on to a wider mentoring program. And some of our male colleagues have got involved across the business as well. So I think it was, whilst it was a targeted initiative under our DEI strategy, it has opened up, and we felt it's now more inclusive because everybody can access it as well.
So sorry, just so I can understand. So it's a women's forum, but men can come into it to ask questions.
It's a separate one. So we still kept the women in leadership one, but we just opened up a sort of a generic wider mentoring program as a result of it, because it was successful.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Awesome. Catherine, can I call on you just to get some insights on, in your space, just covering on the various topics, but mainly around how do we bring in benefits and a kind of sense of safety in the workplace for women that would make it more attractive for them to stay and I guess to progress in their work career?
I'm not really involved in the benefits piece, I have to say. I mean, my focus is largely talent acquisition. And we have actually just kicked off a project that is really looking at diversity and inclusion. I work for a company that has subsidiaries, so the parent company and multiple subsidiaries. I think our executive leadership team is about 10% female, which is absolutely shocking. In one of our subsidiaries, there are no female leadership representation. So we're really kind of stepping back and looking at why, and looking at that next level of female leadership and saying, where's the gap, right? How do we take these women who are incredibly talented, who've had great experience, and get them to the next level? And how do we make those opportunities available? And I think, unfortunately, it's not an easy question, right? I think, but it is something that we're starting to have dialogue around, which I think is absolutely key. as a woman myself, I think in terms of retention, I mean, my kids are a little bit older than a lot of the women here. They're kind of teenagers off doing their own thing. And so, I'm sitting here thinking, I still have ambition. I still have aspirations. What is actually the next step for me? And not seeing a lot of opportunity. And even when I look outside my current company, I'm not seeing a lot of opportunity externally. And, even when I've interviewed, I mean, I interviewed a couple of years ago at a fashion on-site fashion house, and I did a couple of interviews and I thought it went great. And the kind of VP of talent at the time called me and said, I think you've got great experience. You hit every requirement. Our concern is that you won't gain followership with a largely millennial team, which I thought was hugely insulting. Wow. Like, I can't resonate, with younger women. I think it made me glad I didn't get the job, because that wasn't the kind of company that I wanted to work at anyway. So, I think it's absolutely critical that, we give women opportunity. And if women don't have the experience we need, then we give them, we bridge that gap, right? With learning and development and mentorship programs, we bridge that gap. So that's kind of my take on retention and recruiting.
Yeah, no, and I think someone mentioned it earlier around how hard we are on ourselves as women, and overcritical we are when it comes to what we've done. And it was interesting. I was on LinkedIn the other day for something unrelated, and I saw a job spec, and it said, here's what we're looking for. Here's the 10 things. Please, women specifically, if you can't do one of them, still apply, because we we actually don't. We see that one thing, we say we're not going to get that role. We're not going to be good enough, because we hold ourselves accountable to trying to be as perfect, well, trying to be the best. And it is quite difficult, especially in that retention and acquisition of talent.
I think it's, one of the things that I've experienced recently is that, I'm looking at my CV and, my background, and, someone said to me, I think you should cut off the first 10 years of experience that you have, because it's not relevant and it revealed your age. And I'm quite proud of that 10 years. I worked at McKinsey, I worked at BCG, I worked at Deloitte, and I'm quite proud. That was an achievement for me. And to then be told that that's irrelevant, cut it off because no one's going to look at you because they're going to know you're 58 years old. That was really hard to hear. And, my husband was like, absolutely not, keep it. Like, you need to be proud of your experience. But it's such a balance, isn't it? Because, people see your age and they think, oh, they want to retire, they're this, that, and it's not true. We still have aspirations and dreams and ambitions. So.
Yeah, I think that also goes to Georgie, you referenced it, editing yourself, I mean, that was a physical one, but it is that editing yourself. And it's just crazy that we have to go there. I know we've had quite a big forum today. I am conscious of time. I did want to put it out to the forum if you guys would be interested to have a second session. I think we've covered quite a bit at a high level, but going a little bit further down. If anyone would be interested, we can send out a follow-up on the session. Really, it's just a thought. I think it's quite a robust topic, and we've only kind of hit the top layer of it.
Yeah, thanks, Kelsey. I think just giving Chu an opportunity just to talk at the end. I think it's been great. We definitely want to do at least a follow-up webinar and perhaps another roundtable on the topic. Obviously, it's for, it came out of research that we did interviewing HR heads, actually people like Lisa. So for sure, we'll definitely follow up with more content and webinars and things around this topic.
Yeah, I'm thinking we can maybe do another round table with the same forum. Just I don't think we got enough time today. But we can check in on that afterwards. Chu, I am going to give you some time just before I do. Ladies, this was a really great networking opportunity. If you would like to, could you put your LinkedIn profiles in the chat? It'll make it easier if you've heard anyone speaking today that you'd like to connect with. And also, as I mentioned, our roundtables do happen every month. So if you've got any other topics that you think would be amazing to be discussed and you'd like to join, if you could post those in the chat as well. Chu, then I'm just going to hand over to you. Sorry, I know we've only got a couple of minutes.
Well, thanks, Kelsey. Firstly, thank you so much, Kelsey. You've done an amazing job. And it's been a privilege to be part of this group today. So my name is Chu. I'm the CEO and founder of Montago. I've been in the well-being space for over a decade. The topic today, it means a lot to me as well, because my wife obviously going through menopause as well. So it's very close to me. But reality for me, the way I feel about this is that it's a social problem. It's not a woman's problem. I think everyone, regardless of their gender and their age, should be here talking about it. So it shouldn't be, seen as a problem by a group of people to be solved by that small group, that group of people. So that's something that I'd like to see and be a part of, and hopefully change and get more, male colleagues talking about this. With regards to the business, Montago, we're a financial well-being business. We're a social impact business. We care about changing people's lives. We want to reflect society as such. We try to recruit across the board. Diversity and inclusion is really important for us. And we want to work very closely with clients and customers that care about engaging with their staff. We believe that financial well-being is foundational as a benefit for your staff, because life, one way or another connects to money. This topic of childcare, it's really important. A lot of women can't show up to work because of childcare. It's a big expense for a lot of family. Again, it should be addressed by both men and women. The average full-time cost for childcare is about £2,000 a month. And we have a new product called Childcare Salary Sacrifice that can save you around 10%, which is great. Things like that. We have a whole range of other solutions to help you and your team. Come talk to us and we're happy to help. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you, Chu. Yeah, I think what we're going to do is really we'll just connect and look at if there's a potential next session we can have where we can go a little bit more deeper into the various topics we covered today. And I see people are adding their LinkedIn profiles, which is amazing. So we really want to keep the conversations going and, as females, just bring a nice, strong network that we can soundboard off of each other going forward. So I do want to thank you guys for your time today. It's exactly 1:15. I know a couple said that they needed to go. So Rudy, are you happy we can send out some?
Thank you. It's obviously a topic that's resonated. I'm really excited with how the roundtable's gone. Thanks for everyone who's contributed, especially particularly the speakers and Kelsey. Got a fantastic job. We'll follow up with more content around this, and for sure, I think we'll do another roundtable. We want to do a webinar as well, get some other speakers. But yeah, it's been great. So thanks everyone.
Cool. Thank you so much, ladies. Have a lovely rest of your Thursday and week. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.